Hello and good morning, beautiful people. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. All right, so Colossians 2, 9 through 10, the New Living Translation reads, "For in Christ lives all the fullness of God in a human body. So you also are complete through your union with Christ, who is the head over every ruler and authority." So you all, here's what you got to understand. If God has given you an instruction, you follow the instruction that the Lord has given you. You know, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things right now because, it's summertime and then school is going to be starting again. So you got a lot of people doing a lot of things, doing a lot of events and things of that nature, right? And with all that being said, that's good for them. It is. But if God has told you to focus and not get distracted, I advise you to do what the Lord has told you to do, not what people want you to do. Because like it says, for in Christ lives all the fullness of God in a human body. So you also are complete through your union with Christ, who is the head over every ruler and authority. Yesterday, while they were putting windows in, I was outside, oh Lord, it was hot too, but I was outside for hours, and just talking to my neighbors, and then talking to a woman who is married to a pastor, but she works. The pastor's wife worked. She was working. And so we were talking about church. Yeah, the pastor's wife who has a job. She was working. But be that as it may, God always reminds me, like, I'm going to use you on your job the same way you see me using this woman. Showing the love of God. The presence of God. Wisdom. Knowledge. Understanding, Lord. And then, you ask one another what church you go to. Yeah. And then when you tell the church you go to, then they start asking questions about why is it this way and why is it that way? And I'm just like, these are the things that the Lord has convicted me of about this church. And, every time I spoke out against those things, I was attacked. And the thing is, God won't let me leave there because he wants his house to be a house of prayer, not a den of thieves. And then someone else spoke and said what they know to be true about the church. And I'm like, yeah, it's still that as well. And my heart literally got heavy because I was like, this is what they're saying about the place you've sent me to, Lord. And the thing is, these are the things that you showed me about the place that you have me at, Lord. So my heart became heavy because it's like, this is why God has me pray the way he has me pray. For the man of God. Because these things that these people are saying about the church was when the founder was at the church. But yet these are the things that I've been convicted about at that church, and the founder is no longer living. So the same spirit, the same operations are still going on. I tell you all the truth. God is cleaning up his church. And just yesterday reminded me of why he told me to be patient. Because these things have been embedded and been going on for years. 4 years. 4 years. And even last night, He kept revealing to me, you obey what I have told you. You better not go astray. What I told you was the truth. Don't be swayed by what anyone else is saying. What I told you, what I showed you, that is the truth. You know, this is why it's so important to have your own personal relationship with God. I'm being honest, you all. It is about the intimacy with Him. It's in that secret place for real. It's in that secret place, you all. And then when you go around others, they can tell that you've been with God. The woman literally said to me, she said, are you always this joyful? And I was like, yeah. She said, no wonder there's so much joy and happiness in this community. I was like, well, thank you. It's God. It's God. You know, because all those hours outside in that heat yesterday, the Lord allowed me to share my testimony about when I backslid and ran away from God with the firstborn child, and parents neglected me, and it made me turn my back on God, because I'm like, dang, these are the people that was sending me to church, making sure I didn't miss church. I said, and I wound up backsliding. I'm telling you. I said, but then when that same child life was taken, I ran back to God. I said, and I'm telling you, one thing that He has worked on me about, because we were all talking about our mouth and our tongue, and how can't nobody control that tongue but God, right? And so I was talking about how, like, man, I'm telling you, people used to talk about my tongue cut like a knife, because I would tell the truth to hurt them on purpose. And I was saying it in the worst way. I said, so God done soften me up on that one. He still has me tell the truth, but He done soften me up, because I used to not care, like, how it would come out. And then my neighbor, he was like, man, look, I'm still that way. God's still working on me about that. I said, I know. I said, you agitate people on purpose. I said, that's why I'm praying for you, because you need Jesus. I said, we all need Jesus, but I'm saying a special prayer for you. And he couldn't do nothing but laugh. And so we were talking about the women in the church, you know, how pastors really should not have women being their aide. And you know, she was just saying how her husband refuses to be with another woman. Giving him a ride, talking to him in private, like he refuses. I said, your husband has wisdom, because the temptations come when a man is constantly being aided by a woman. That's how them temptations happen. That's how these men fall. I said, oh my goodness. Your husband has so much wisdom. I said, that is wisdom from God, that He knows that he should not have any other woman close to him at all for any reason. That is wisdom from God. He is protecting himself from temptations of a woman. I said, we don't see that in church anymore. We've got these females that can just run up to these men, be close to these men, be hugging on these men, and they're married. I said, and we see it. I said, and you can tell the ones that are literally trying to get this man attention by the way they move, by, oh Lord, their body language tell it, the way they talk to him, the way they flaunt in front of his face. I said, and then everybody can see it, but for some reason he can't see it, but everybody else can see it. I said, your husband has so much wisdom. He knows that the woman will be the cause of a fall. I said, you know, thank God for your husband. That is wisdom. She said he will not let another woman, like, it don't matter if she need a ride to church. He not letting no woman ride with him. He not letting a woman come anywhere near him. I said, that is wisdom. Her husband understands women shouldn't be so comfortable coming up to a married man, regardless if he's a pastor or not. Where are your boundaries, man of God? Where are your boundaries?